Stunning. New example of media bias up next.
Be smart. We're doing better in all of these states than we did on election night. Despite only negative publicity, only negative stories from the fakers back there. In Helsinki, I had a great meeting with Putin. They wanted me to walk up and go like this. They wanted me to go up and have a boxing match.
President Trump again taking aim at the media as some members of the press continue to help him prove his point.
There's no way anyone who knows Donald Trump but is not bought in some way could watch him last night and not come away with a feeling that the President of the United States is completely unhinged and getting worse by the day.
Okay, Jesse, how is his rally last night different from any other rally? Like, I don't understand where she thinks all of a sudden something's different.
I think he was so good she had to call him that.
Okay.
Because I think she's
Nice
jealous. She's jealous because it takes a lot of talent to do what he does, to be able to read a crowd the way he does. It's not someone that's unhinged. It's someone that's so focused and so in tune to the crowd and their reaction, the timing, the sensibility of the way your words are going over with the crowd, and the way you perceive the crowd, and if they're kind of losing patience or losing interest, to jolt them back at it. That takes timing, that takes precision. Not a lot of people are able to do that. So in order to discredit him, she can't discredit him on policy. She has to discredit him on his personality. And they don't have a very good personal relationship, so it's sour grapes.
Well, it wasn't just personality. Take a listen to one more soundbite from that show.
Is it okay? It sounds like maybe he's losing his mind. Is this a stability issue? Because I feel like some might argue when you see him off prompter, he doesn't really seem to be there.
What do you mean
doesn't
by
really
that?
connect with the reality of the situation.
What do you think?
So, Greg, it's not the first time that questions have been raised, and we understand Omarosa has a book coming out in which apparently she's says something similar about mental stability.
Who's Omarosa?
I'm not sure.
Former assistant to the president.
You know who it was.
In regards to Mika, there's a good rule that you can always use. Boring people think interesting people are crazy, and she's effectively boring. The only thing interesting about her is her last name. Let's be honest. So I think you can be harsh about her because she offers no medical evidence. She offers had no medical expert there. She's not a doctor. To talk about somebody's stability, and by the way, in very serious tones. This isn't like, when Trump says, Bernie's crazy. He's basically trash talking, on the street. She's actually making a fairly serious accusation that could push someone to say, okay, my God, we have to do something about this president. He's dangerous.
Yeah, was it the 25th Amendment or something like that? Dagan, what do you make of it in terms of not responding on policy, but being frustrated with his delivery? Is what I guess she was upset about.
Because everybody's lazy. They don't have to actually do any reading or understand anything about what's really going on in this country. You just come in and play like you're a psychiatrist in an airport kiosk. Again, what are these screeching, preening peacocks going to do when President Trump isn't in the White House anymore? They're going to go back to genuflecting and rump smooching to get an invite to the White House Christmas party. It's embarrassing. My dad told me, and I think that this is playing out in America. When I first started working as a financial journalist about a quarter of a century ago, he said, okay, honey, you are below repo men and people who work in carnivals and IRS auditors in terms of how people distrust you and dislike you. So enjoy that the rest of your life. And I think that this is nothing new. I mean, people hate press, and they just hate
is it effective with Democrats, though?
No.
It's not.
It's not effective with Democrats, but I think I think Mika's just she's one outlier, right? I think however, in this conversation is because the president has basically made the media the punching bag, and I mean he's called them the enemy of the state. He's called
fake media.
That'd be people, not state.
The enemy of the same difference. Enemy of the people, and I find that to be very problematic. Go ahead, Jesse. I'm waiting for your pun.
I find you problematic.
I find you problematic too, buddy. But I mean, the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of people that go to the White House every day that do really good work and they're really good journalists, and they don't deserve to be lumped in and called enemy of the people. You have people like Michelle Cinder at PBS. You have Abby Phillips at CNN. Good. You have our White House correspondents that are there that do good work every day, and even in their tweets are like, I mean, John Roberts is like, am I an enemy of the people too? And I think the president and the White House have to be very careful about their rhetoric, because they say they believe in the Constitution and the First Amendment enshrines.
Well, doesn't the press have to be careful about their rhetoric as well?
The job of the press is to ask tough questions to the White House, and Dana's been in that briefing room.
I
No president.
I think we're conflating two
people in the
things.
briefing room and people that are anchoring shows.
Mika's
are
not
very
in the
different
briefing
people.
room.
Right.
You know, she's like us. I mean, she has an opinion.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, there is something when you are saying that somebody is seriously mentally ill. There are people who are mentally ill, who are. It is just, you don't play around with that terminology lightly. That's what I guess bugs me about it.
All right, President Trump unveils his new nickname for Bernie Sanders. And will the Democratic divide upend the party's plans for the midterms?
A fired up President Trump going after his theoretical 2020 rivals in Pennsylvania.
Let's say I'm running against Pocahontas or Crazy Bernie. I tell you, I got to hand it to Bernie. I saw him up there the other day. That hair is getting whiter and whiter, and he's getting crazier and crazier. That guy, he doesn't quit, and that's okay. Crazy Bernie. He is one crazy dude.
This comes as Democrats apparently cannot agree on a midterm message. Politico reporting progressives are meeting right now in New Orleans with plans to push the party toward impeaching him. Dana, is that a loser?
Yes, it's a loser. I actually pitched this today because I think
that's why I went to you first.
Thank you. Good, thank you. There's so many people working in the Democratic Party who are trying to figure, like the third way guys, even the DCCC, the DNC. Pelosi says, we're not doing impeachment. We're not talking about it. We're not doing it. And there you have Tom Steyer, this billionaire, who's like, why isn't anybody taking me seriously? I was going to give you money. I want you to say impeachment. And they're like, please don't do that. I think that politics by these billionaires that are trying to influence the election, like Tom Steyer, it's not good. And then you have I should go to Richard on this, but they're frustrated with the Democrats because I think you haven't done enough to go after President Trump. I think that the Democrats do have time to figure out a midterm message. They have another month or so, get to Labor Day, and then they can drive it home, whatever they decide on that they're going to do. Turnout's really important. Turnout matters in this election more than any other. But if you don't have a good message, your turnout won't matter.
So I have a couple things. I agree, turnout's very important. I think the talk of, so the Netroots, they're talking, the conference they're talking about is Netroots. Mm-hmm. Netroots is very similar to CPAC. It's, it's the activist. It's the far left, just like CPAC is the far right. They have conversations. They come up with, far left things. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's where the party is going to go, but I think it's an opportunity for us to rev up the party. It's to build the big momentum. I think Democrats have momentum going into this midterm election. I think the issue that we're going to come down to, or boil down to if we're smart, and I think we are, is going to be health care. And here's why. President Trump promised repeal and replace. Mm-hmm. He didn't repeal. He didn't replace. And in October, when they announced the new Obamacare premiums, which are going to be through the roof, the one party you can blame for that is the GOP. And I think Democrats are going to run on the fact that health care is going to be more costly, and it's costly under Trump, and that's a very potent argument, and it's a real argument.
So far, Jesse, that's not the case. The premiums are not coming in nearly as high, even falling in some states, but they've been reported at the state level because the insurance commissioners have been finding out. And then also, you had this initiative this past week in terms of opening up the market and letting individuals buy short-term health plans, which are essentially against the law based on Obamacare rules, another rule that the Trump administration is rolling back. Again, you run on people's money, you're going to lose because the economy is so good.
Yeah, there's more cheaper options now with health care. After President Trump came out with these deregulations, they're slowly chipping away at Obamacare, but then Trump's like lighting things on fire and the media's looking that way and he's zigging that way. It's funny watching Bernie and Pocahontas, or he calls her Pocahontas. I can't imagine Trump ever losing a war of words against whoever the Democratic nominee is. There's no way Bernie Sanders is verbally equipped to go toe-to-toe with the president. I think I shouldn't say Pocahontas, but I think Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren, is quick with the Twitter. She's tight. She keeps it focused. But I think verbally she doesn't have what it takes. She doesn't have the charisma. She doesn't have the game.
She
As
does
you
it
say,
in
she
front of
doesn't
her
have the
crowd,
trash
she does.
talking. I just haven't seen it. I don't think it can deliver.
Neither of them are going to be the nominee, though.
Well, if it's Biden,
Joe Biden's going to be the nominee, and in the most recent poll, Joe Biden was
take him behind the gym and punch him in the
Here's the
face?
thing: in the most recent poll, Joe Biden was up 7 points against Donald Trump.
Here's the-
A little early for polls.
But here's the problem. Their platform is impeachment.
That's not true.
Abortion and open borders.
That's not true. That is not true.
A winning
Yeah.
trinity.
That's what we hear the most about. Every party has an angry fringe, right and left. But in the Dems, it's less of a fringe; it's the whole dress. But the party's going to have to pick a side, and one part of that party is going to be subservient to the other. So that's what you're going to see. I want to talk about the trash talking because I talked about how Mika was talking about the mentally ill, and you have Trump calling Bernie crazy. There's a key difference there. The trash talk, he's giving Bernie a nickname over his beliefs. The idea that he's a socialist in America is crazy, and it's always it's. Socialism is destructive practice that is chosen by incredibly rich people because they can survive it. All the rich liberals in California, all the rich liberals in New York City, they can embrace a socialist candidate or very liberal leaders because they're wealthy enough to sustain the punitive policies that nobody else can. That's crazy. And that street talking, he's trying to stick that to Bernie as opposed to actually saying he is clinically mentally ill and I worry about the state of the country.
Can I just make one point?
No, Richard, you can't.
No,
I'm
you
kidding.
can't.
The one point I want to make is that Republicans get mad when we call them the party of the rich because you guys. I'm not saying that you guys are the party of the rich. We get mad when you say we're open borders because we aren't
I hear
open
you.
borders.
I agree.
Because Barack Obama spent a lot of money protecting the border. So stop saying we believe in open borders because it's
Here's
just
what
not
y'all
true.
Keith Ellison wore a T-shirt that says, "I don't believe in
That's
borders."
one person.
He's
That
the
is not
number
the
2
entire
guy in your
party.
Well, he's the number 2.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
Here's what
Nancy-
we do keep hearing. Medicare for all. Medicare already is going broke in 8 years. Medicare for all is going to be $33 trillion. We would have to double the amount of money that we take from the American people in terms of taxes, and it still wouldn't pay for it. That's crazy.
But you're not going to pay healthcare premiums anymore.
One crazy dude.